Hey, everybody. Welcome to The Experience, live with Russ and Scott.
Welcome to The Experience, live with Russ and Scott.
Special thank you to our sponsors, the Gillette Home team of Keller Williams Midwillamette. For all your real estate needs, go to teamgillette.com. And thank you to our new sponsor, Joseph Gonzalez and In the Game Group. For more information, go to joseph@inthegamegroup.com. Ta-da! We made it! Live with Russ and Scott on The Experience. We are so glad to be here today, and we're glad that you're here because you know what? We're here every Wednesday, 7 a.m. Pacific Standard Time with amazing guests like our guest today, Kristi Jo, who we had to bring back for another episode. They were so amazing. So this is part 2 of our chat with them because we had such a great time on round 1. So Scott, how are you doing? You're off and about and enjoying the coast.
A little bit different background today because Christine and I are at Seaside, Oregon, and we are right on the promenade. Our room, we overlook the swimming pool and then the beach, and then we look out onto the Pacific Ocean. We have walked the entire boardwalk from one end to the other, which is a good trek. So it's been, it's fun to get out and to get into a different environment and get some inspiration. It was funny because as we were checking in, the lady at the desk says, "Oh, are you here for a special event?" I said, "No, just a chance to get away." And she's like, "You're not here to work, are you?" And I'm like, "Yeah." And my wife's just like, "Oh," and she was disappointed, but my wife said, "We love what we do." And
That's
to
true.
be able to pack up and come and do what we do, which is talking to remarkable people from around the world.
Yes.
Why would I not do that?
And speaking of remarkable people, Shri is here, who was just with us, our co-host on The Experience Backstage on Instagram, and she is amazing. Then we have our good friend Alan, who's way over in Dublin, Ireland. I mean, the guests keep coming. Whitney's here this morning. I can't even mention everybody right yet, but just wanted to say thank you, all of you, for sharing with us because, we do love what we do. And the beautiful thing is we can do this from anywhere in the world. And I was just telling somebody yesterday, Scott, we were talking about, and it was Lauren Rilling that I told you about. We're talking about, she's a great Christian business counselor. We were talking about, what do you want out of your business? What do you want to be able to do? Not just make money, not just put a good business together. What do you really want? And what was interesting about that, I said, well, I'm very clear on what I want. I want to be able to move to the point where I keep working because I love what I do, but I do that a little bit less. And I get to travel with my beautiful wife and work from all around the world, meeting in person a lot of these friends that I have met virtually. And that is my long-term goal, to be to that point. And of course, you have to facilitate that with your business and your finances, all of that stuff. But, that's really what I think this experience of life, Scott, people need to think about. What are they envisioning for themselves now and in the future? And that's where they really need to head. So speaking of the future, what are you doing this week? besides vacationing?
Well, of course, coming up at 9 a.m. Pacific time, it's the Aging Better Network with Christine Smith, and I'll be producing her show. She has unscripted conversations around the aspects of aging. That show has just continued to grow and develop with so many guests on there that she's talking about putting together a reunion show.
Wow. That's amazing. That's amazing. Yeah, you guys have done great with that. I mean, really, I tell everybody I want to be Scott when I grow up because I just try to keep up with Scott. So it's no, it's a great friendship we have, and I'm excited about this week. So many things going in. Besides the fact that we got beautiful new hardwood floors in our house this week,
Nice.
Getting a chance to really get out to some amazing events, including Scott. One thing I meant to talk to you about: there's an amazing Christian business conference coming up that I'm sponsoring and attending coming up in February. I need to talk to you about that.
Nice.
Put on by our good friend Andrea Beam. I'll give some more information on that online later, but that'll be really quite the Beam team of Keller Williams. Or no, they're not Keller Williams anymore. Who are they? I can't remember. Anyway, so
the Beam team.
Yeah, EXP Realty. But we shouldn't mention that because our sponsors today, who we love, Laura Gillot of the Gillot Home team of Keller Williams, and also Joseph Gonzalez and In the Game. Joseph is amazing. So thank you to them. I think we're going to just jump from there right over to bringing our guests in. What do you think?
Let's do it.
Now, I don't always do this, but I'm going to bring Joe and Kristi in at the same time because we had such a great discussion. And we're going to let them give just a minute or two each on who they are again for those that don't know. And then we're going to chat. So here they come. Woohoo!
And let's just tell our guests, tell our audience, make sure, put on your seatbelts because you're going to be blown away here.
Oh, my goodness. It's true. It's true. Well, thanks, ladies. Hey, Joe, you go first. Tell us just a little recap who you are, and then we'll let Kristi go, and then we'll jump back into this discussion.
Absolutely. My name is Jo Welch, and I'm known as the beneficiary's best friend because people don't want to talk about the will. And what I've done in talking to thousands of people, I am definitely a people person, is that I've seen that I've been able to start those conversations and get people thinking about how to do that planning. And the cool thing about me, and I think you guys know this a little bit too, is that I love having fun. So it doesn't even feel like hard work. For me, I grew up and my parents are immigrants from Colombia. I just had a very different view of the world and like what did wealth mean? What did, would I ever have that? I attributed it to like owning a home or something very so concrete. But now I realize that it's the blueprint. It's fundamentally the blueprint of our future. Russ, you were talking about your future. Like that is what we're talking about here. And so what I've done is I've created a 6-week program as well as a free offering for folks to be able to come in, get their mindset started, have some fun, and actually get it done. Get it done. And so we'll be talking more about that. But my name is Jo Welch, and I'm among many things the beneficiary's best friend.
That is so awesome. Joe, take it away from there.
So I'm Kristi Horner. I'm the founder and executive director of Courage to Caregivers, a nonprofit that's based in Cleveland, Ohio, now supporting caregivers nationwide. That was the true silver lining of the pandemic for us, is that we created 3 programs, and you had to live close by where we were in Northeast Ohio to take advantage of those. And then the pandemic everything went on to Zoom. Here we are meeting people from across the country. You guys are on vacation, doesn't matter. And we can now support caregivers wherever they are from the comfort of their home. And that was our number one barrier before the pandemic hit, was leaving your loved ones at home to come to one of our programs. We have 3 main programs, all focused on preventing caregiver burnout. And we have peer support, breathing meditation classes, and support groups, which are more like group coaching sessions. But I love what you said. And this is really a passion project for me. So it does not feel like work, Scott, at all. Mm-hmm. And I'm often found taking work on trips or getting away with a fresh perspective because I just have such a heart for caregivers and supporting them. No one needs to take the journey I did, which was one of extreme burnout and did not take care of my own health and wellness. And when you don't take care of your own health and wellness, you can't take care of anyone else. So we're here to help people take better care of themselves so they can provide care to others. We create healthier, stronger families in the process. So thanks for having me.
Well, you are so welcome. And that is exactly what we love about both of you. Is the whole thing is your heart, caring, and you're so right what you just said there, Kristi. I say it over and over, but I'm thinking about the airline right now. My son and daughter-in-law on the way to New Zealand today. And I'm thinking, they're on that plane. And when those oxygen masks drop, if they run to help everybody else, they're going to pass out because they're not taking care of themselves. People don't realize sometimes it is not selfish to take care of yourself. It's where your heart is. What is it all? What is your intentions? What is it all about? But if you have the right heart, you have to take care of yourself first so you can care for people, young, old, people with disabilities, people that are completely healthy, anybody out there. And, Joe, we were talking a little bit about some of the things that you do. And you, speaking of my son and daughter-in-law, my daughter-in-law, both of her parents are deaf. And so she's been an interpreter her whole life. That is so unique in communities like that, being able to care and show people they matter by being able to speak to them, whatever that platform is. And you're able to bring that around to the deaf community, which is an amazing thing.
It has been an absolute blessing. Anything that I have is because of, that collective culture, that partnership. This is also my passion project. When I realized that, the idea of doing this is not available to everyone because people have to talk about it or have to mention it. So like for my parents that came from another country, for the deaf community who wear that kind, depending on their family structure, depending on a lot of things, are people getting access to, hey, you should really have a will. And it's not only them. We're talking even people who have wealth. I'm talking to a lot of business owners. I created programs for busy people because I'm a busy person. And it's sometimes people even know about it and still don't act on it. I just want to do a shout out to the deafblind, hard of hearing community, because they are the ones who raised me. And so it goes back to like a win for one is a win for all. And that is definitely where my heart is.
Right.
It's interesting, Joe, that you bring this up, and Kristi as well. Language. We cannot separate culture from language. So if I wanted to learn about a specific culture, one of the things I would do is look at their language. And so if I wanted to interact with the deaf community, then I need to learn sign language, not just so that I can communicate, but so that I can at least understand that culture. And Kristi, your community too also has its own language. And when you're familiar with those, it helps you bond with that. And so let's talk a little bit about the language and culture, Kristi.
Yeah. Well, first of all, is it not the culture everywhere, a burnout that is the accepted culture? That it has become the norm, and we're here to say, stop. It does not have to be. I was talking to someone this week who just realized that she's doing the work of two people for over a year. Her employer knew it, wanted to see how she would do. And I said, when's it going to stop? How do you stop that? That's at work. And so we're trying to meet people where they are, because the culture of burnout is coming from the workplace and it's seeping into every other aspect of our culture. So how do we change that? And it starts with us. It starts with us. I can't tell any of you what or how to do that and how to establish your own great boundaries or expectations of yourself and others. But I think it starts with us, that culture of burnout. That's what I would say. I think there's this other culture of others come first. Others come first. And you mentioned the analogy of the oxygen mask, which we love to talk about. Did you know you only have like 18 seconds of useful consciousness before you're going to pass out when those oxygen masks come down? So if you were going to ask my husband, who is in the next room and is going to start laughing when I say this, he'd be like, absolutely not. I can put on my whole family in 18 seconds and then put mine on last, because that's what I do. He's a selfless, caring caregiver of other people. And yet I can guarantee you one of those is going to get twisted up. He has to stand up and cross the aisle. Who knows what's going down on that plane? And if he doesn't put it on himself, he won't be there to help anyone else. And who knows where he might get sucked out to in the process. I don't know when he takes off that seatbelt. My point is, taking care of you is not selfish, as you mentioned, Russ. It's absolutely essential to provide the very best care to others. And we neglect our own doctor's appointments to take care of others. We neglect our own wellness to the point where the stress is killing us. Stress is killing us.
Amen. Kristi, can you put me up with Kristi? Because I want to talk to her for just a hot second. This is what happened last time. Like, these guys are so kind to, they just sat back and let us go. So give us just a minute. Because one, I wanted to shout out to say amen. Absolutely. Right. It's mindset. And when we talk about mindset, especially in the culture of traditional, like looking at women, right, caregivers, and what the assumptions are that we'll do. And when you look at the history of women, you know, we were more objects, we were more property for a long time. I mean, this is a hard reality, but that's where this is coming from, is that the assumption that the woman in the house is going to take care of everything, right? They don't have a job, but what their job is, right? And that's a mentality that we've had for most of our American society, that women will just take care of everything. So that's why you see more people who tend to be women, but that's not the case, because we know that we have men who are caregivers, non-binary people, like that. Everybody is doing it, but it stems from that same idea that, like, if it's heart-centered, then that means that that person, that matriarch or whoever, is going to be the one taking care of it, and no one seems to be concerned of what is being lost in that person's life. Right, it becomes, especially if we look at the different generations, right, boomers versus Gen X, and how we start shifting. When I was 14, women were not allowed to have a baby and also keep their CEO, C-suite position. Like, understand, like, that influences us on what does that mean and what is our value. And if someone's going to go down, like if someone's going to get sick, something's going to happen, we're going to be the ones called in to save the day and give everything up. And so I just wanted to do that shout out, Kristi, that, you know, that's what we're talking about is, one, when we change that narrative, we also feel like we're betraying our families, our churches, our people. What do you mean you're not going to do that? What do you mean you're not going to take care of, give everything up that you've worked for? And again, it's a value system. And it's so ingrained.
Yeah. So there becomes that culture of expectation. And I love what your wife just said, Scott, right? Like, Christine's like, no, it can't, don't let it be. And that culture of burnout as accepted in the way. And yet knowing that it is, where does it stop? It stops with us today.
Right.
And it starts with that acknowledgement. We, at Courage to Caregivers, we have a curriculum of our own design that's based on domains of resilience, and we work to empower caregivers. We don't claim to teach them anything they don't already know. And my guess is, Joe, it's a little bit of the same with you. You know, these are things you know you have to do, and you probably have a very full toolbox, but in moments of crisis, like after someone has passed, is not the time to start that planning. And so for us, when you're already burned out, which is when they try to call me, and we're trying to get ahead of that and say, back it up a little, folks. Let's be there to prevent that burnout. They have that toolbox, but in moments of crisis, they forget. They forget to pull out those tools. January's theme has been setting intentions. And you've probably seen it all over. And, you know, we thought about it long before it became like this cultural fun. But setting intentions is a great way to look at starting a new year. And then how do you manifest those intentions is what we're talking about, right? So instead of setting New Year's resolutions, which can feel very hard for some people, setting an intention of how you want to be, how you want to become, how you want to live is the way we love looking at it, because it becomes much more mindful, it creates much more presence, and it can be very embodied. And we believe in that whole body experience 100%.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I want to echo a couple comments here. You know, what you've been talking about too, being proactive, having good intention, but getting started and taking action too, because I love this. It starts today. That is so true, because if we do not get moving and intentionally move in the direction of taking care of ourselves, of having a mindset of it's our life, not whether you're male, female, black, white, whatever, no matter what is going on, hearing, not hearing, all of that. It starts with you, your intentions, taking care of yourself, and setting a good perspective and path for your life, because so many people are living somebody else's life. And that is how we suffer burnout, because we feel like we have to follow these rules and achieve this way. And everybody is not the same. Right, Scott?
Yeah, I love this because there's the difference between intention and expectation.
Yes. Yes.
So I could come into 2023, or let's say I was going to attend a workshop that Joe was putting on. So I'm going to learn from her, and I walk in with expectations. What is she going to give me, right? But if I walked in there and she asked me, Scott, what are your intentions from this time? That is, what are you going to put in? Because as we know, I only get out what I put in.
Right.
Absolutely. And I love that you brought that up. That's where we start. I do have if anybody goes to joewelch.com, you're going to find willfairychallenge.com, which is the free offering in February. So we already have dates for that. That's on the 8th. And it is, and this is just, my parallel with Kristi's work and what we're talking about here is it's all about mindset. And when the world around us, I think this is one of the battles, especially, I'm a Latina first generation. So this is the work that I do a lot in a lot of different areas around my own identity, belonging. Do I feel like I have value and worth? And we all have some sort of recipe in our head about that. And I think that's the place where we can fall and falter, right? As a caregiver, if the things around you are telling you that what's valuable is giving up your autonomy, your agency, your life, then you have a misrepresentation of that value. But if you have your own mindset to say that my life is valuable, this is urgent, but it's also something that fits into my life. And that goes back to having that will in place and having, for me, the will is not just about the one document. It's about all the documents, right? So it's about what do you want to see happen, right? So now we're back into, for me, this is where mindset hits. People are like, I don't have anything. And you're like, are you a parent? Yes. Do you live somewhere? Yes. Do you have things? Yeah. And so already we're going uphill, right? Pushing that boulder. And then doing the inventory. For me, it's a success inventory. And the success inventory we do in our businesses, and we should be doing for our lives, so that when you get to the point of a caregiver, you're literally, or needing one, you can hand them your blueprint. That's the word of my year, is blueprint. What is your life's blueprint? How do you mark the inventories of your success?
But what you're also doing is it's a physical and written expression of your legacy.
Yes, it's called the legacy effect. You got me. We're on the same page.
Yeah. It manifests. It's as this is my legacy. This is my gift. I have just put out into the world that when I retire from this passion project, I'm going to become a death doula. And people are like, what is that? That is someone trained to help you navigate that season of your life, which is different for all people, right? Based on their chronic illness, serious illness, no matter what their story is, someone to help them navigate that end of life. And so if you can look at all that you do, Joe, as their legacy and gift
correct
to the world, it's a much better way to frame it.
Actually, what I want to do right now is extend this invitation to you, Kristi, because I'm having guest speakers in my program. So we have it's like 45 days, so about 6-week program, and we meet at night, and so people come together. The thing I couldn't believe is I actually have to carve out quiet time, because when people left from one course when I was doing my beta, when they would leave and come back, they're like, I haven't thought about it. So one is they have to have some like downtime within the structure of the program. But I would love to invite you as one of my guests, because the goal for me is also having them look at what is even possible, right? Like if you don't know what's possible, as much as the caregiver, I'm also looking at things like, you can put your ashes into a bottom of a plant, and you can be back into nature or into a what is it, coral reef. Or you could be made, I've been telling my mom I want her so that I can make her into a diamond and I can carry her everywhere. So some of it too is we think of this in such a negative way.
Right.
And the reason it's negative is because no one's been talking to you about being a caregiver in advance of having to be a caregiver.
No, right. Exactly. It's about living. It's not about dying.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to jump in here because Kevin keeps asking about caregiving and, you know, how we're wired for all that. And a comment a while back, he was talking about, are women more wired for that? And honestly, since I've been through this a couple times, I think yes. I could not have navigated it and done as well with my parents had it not been for my beautiful wife who helped guide me through. I think what you're talking about, guidance and helping people through, you know, the latter years of their life, or whatever situation they're going through, we all need that. And because I allowed people to speak into my life, I did not do what everybody said I had to do. You know, people say, well, my parents have to move in with me. I have to do all this stuff and I have to care for everything. And then people said, well, think about that. Do you want to be the son and love them and care for them? Or do you want to be the grueling caregiver who gets bitter because they're up all night long changing diapers and doing whatever? These are things we need to think about. And what ended up happening in my situation is I got them in a great, loving place to live where I could be there every day, love on them, be with them, and do what I felt God had called me to do into their lives, and not go through, have somebody else take care of the things that was trained to do that. Now, that's not for everybody. I'm just saying I made the choices what were good for me because of what people said to me. And I see you're taking notes there, Kristi, so pick it up.
Yeah. Well, I saw what Whitney had said, you know, is it that we're actually wired as women or are we socialized? And I think it's a very interesting trajectory. And if you look back, as you did, Joe, to, you know, the culture, the expectations of women throughout time, honestly, and it's definitely not true today, but I'm 60. So when, you know, we had children and made the decision and who's going to become the primary, you know, parent, if you will. I'm not sure I looked at myself as a caregiver then. It became a financial question. And women are still not paid the same as men in the workplace. And so when it becomes a financial decision, let's face it, a lot of caregiving is a financial decision. Can't afford to put mom or dad somewhere, need to take care of them at home. Where are they going to go? Who has the capacity? And who can afford to quit their job? Now, we're just seeing with Medicare Advantage, if it sticks around long enough, that caregivers can start getting reimbursed if you're in a state that has Medicare Advantage for some of their caregiving. And so it's a financial decision, pure and simple. And women have historically not been paid the same. Therefore, they are the first ones to say it's a financial decision. I should be the one to stay home. And workplaces, my husband is an incredible caregiver, incredible. He may not see it that way. He's just doing what he's supposed to do, take care of others. And yet in the workplace with a high demand career, no one tells you about the Family Leave Act and that you can take family leave as a man in a higher level when someone has a traumatic incident and needs your support and time.
Right.
Hospital.
Right.
No one tells you about that.
Before you interrupt, I'm going to interrupt to say also women, a lot of interrupting.
And then me.
Absolutely. But I want to say that the reason we have such a great number of women caregivers is because nobody's walking up to them and saying, you don't have to do this. So you had voices coming in. I'm going to say that was very much because of cis male privilege. And that's a blessing, absolute blessing, but it absolutely, that's where it comes from. If you were to see, and if that weren't the case, then we would see the numbers in a very different way. And I want to also add, when you're from a different culture, those things are also like, there's an assumption that there's going to be taken, that the mother figure is going to also take care of everybody.
Yeah, and I'm going to say I agree with that 100% because there's so many assumptions and culture of what we have to do and what I would encourage people to do based on all the great things the two of you are saying and what I've gone through in my life. Listen to wise people with different perspectives and make your own choice. This is the problem because instead of doing things that we feel like we have to do, this is the way it has to go, and then feeling guilty if we're not doing it a certain way. We need to be willing to find out what's going to work best for us. And I can tell you at the end of life for both my mom and my dad, it was such a blessing to have other people walking with that besides my beautiful wife, who is my main stronghold and support. But besides her, having caring professionals walking through that with me, from hospice nurses to caregivers to just people in the industry giving me some good information, then I was able to navigate that so much better and not feel bitter and guilty and be burned out, because that's just it. How do you especially women that are expected, how do you have a full-time job, have a full-time family, take care of your parents, do all this stuff and not get burned out, right?
Well, the funny
Scott,
thing is we're already entering burned out. Go
yeah.
ahead.
I'm sorry, Scott.
Well,
we've been silencing Scott. Go for it.
So I'm just going to say, so men and women, and we're talking about nature, nurture, culture. I will just say that we are wired to care for other humans, especially those of our family. And that men and women may have, and this could be cultural, but we have different expressions of that. And Kristi, you brought this up with your husband, who would be willing to sacrifice himself to put those masks onto other people. Women are doing the same thing. They're sacrificing themselves in different ways. And so it really is not male or female, who's better, who's wired for it. It really is, what is our expression of the love and care? And we can go back into, so if we look at often we call this the love chapter in the Bible, and you'll hear it in weddings, right? And it says, if I don't have love, then I'm just a clanging gong and so forth, right? And that if we look at the King James translation of that word love, it says, if I don't have charity, so that's giving to others. Well, it is the Greek word agape, which is a sacrificial love. So we could actually take that chapter in Corinthians and say, if I am not willing to sacrifice for others, I am just a clanging gong, or, right? And so for thousands of years, we have understood it is our nature to care for others and to sacrifice. What that sacrifice looks like is different over time, but the human nature is the same.
And Whitney's nailed it. Whitney, you and I are like right there, girl. So the 5 love languages, if you haven't read it, is essential to read and understand your own love language, how you both give and receive love. But then for anyone that you're in a collaborative relationship with, be it a partner, family member, a loved one you're caring for, understanding those love languages is essential. We also hit on, and I just finished reading The 4 Tendencies by Gretchen Rubin, an awesome read about expectations of ourselves and expectations of others. So how we lead there, and that's hardwired. That is not changeable based on her science and research. And so understanding your love language, how you give and receive love, and understanding expectations of yourself and others, essential as a human being, but especially as a carer, which, as you said, Scott, we can all be carers. We can all be carers. You may not identify that way, but we all can. As a matter of fact, being a more kind, compassionate world is how we're going to survive and thrive.
And I wanted to also add to this, if we look at the elements on their own, we all have those qualities, right? Whether it's sacrifice, loving, caring, and language is such a critical piece. I am a sign language interpreter. I'm actually celebrating 30 years of being a sign language interpreter. And then my lifetime of being a Latina. And so when we talk about how we talk to ourselves, again, this is stuff we're seeing in all the coaching groups and a lot of when we're in terms of gaining control of our lives and making decisions and actually aiming towards happiness. Like there's a couple things at play here, and I love it because this is doing is echoing the things that I'm focused on in my program, which is experts, especially in the Google generation, like where we can just look up. You can have the Google HD of medical world and the Google HD of, like instead of the PhD, like we can look up anything and everything. And what I think it's done is it's circumvented why should we actually trust an expert to do what an expert does? And so behind that is that, like, it's practice. How do you get to Carnegie Hall? Practice, practice, practice. How do you become a lawyer? Practice, practice, practice. How do you become all the things that we're talking about? And so the Google idea of it has circumvented our trust in experts. So what it does is it puts yet another layer of what we're going to handle, what we're going to take care of. And I think that it's actually misconstrued. What does it mean to be loving? What does it mean to be a caregiver? Because everything's available. So of course, I don't know, raise your hand if you're not a multi-talented person on this call that can do like everything from A to Z. And then we have to take that moment and say, like Russ did, I'm actually going to trust this care facility to do something way better than doesn't mean I can't, but they're going to do it so much better. And the other side of it, and this is the place we don't get to, is if I do that, what's going to be left for me is more me left to be the loving child or to be the caring person, instead of being the one who's like literally, think about, listen to your friends talk. How much pride, like the example you said about your husband, sorry, I'm pointing with my purple pen. The pride of like, I would be able to take care of the entire family in 18 seconds. Nobody put that challenge out. Like no one's saying that that's not necessarily a good thing, especially when the failure of it is so catastrophic.
Right.
Well, jumping in and being the good, responsible host for today, we've got to start wrapping things up. And I just want to say and wrap up that two things that I follow in life and business: just because you can doesn't mean you should. So there's a lot of times we can do things, doesn't mean we should do things. Also, I think it's just so important to listen to people that are wise. I had a 21-year-old caregiver, much younger than me, but much more experienced in what she was doing, looked at me when my dad was in the last day of his life. And she basically just said to me, Mr. Hedge, it's okay. She goes, take a seat, relax. She goes, you be the son, let us be the caregivers. And so she gave me permission to be there, ready to love my dad and pray with him and do those things, but let them take care of some of the details and things that I didn't have to do. So remember, everybody, just because you can doesn't mean you should. With that, we're going to give you ladies the last word. Both of you give us your gold nugget for the day. And then how do people get in touch with you? Because I'm like freaking out going, where is their website? Where is their conference? Where's their stuff? Because I want to go. Okay, let's start with you, Kristi.
Yeah, if you don't take care of yourself, you're not going to do a very good job taking care of anyone else. And likely they're counting on you. So take care of you to better take care of others. And you can check us out on all the socials. Russ, you're the king of LinkedIn here, but we're also on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. And our website is couragetocaregivers.org.
That is so awesome. And that information, as you talk, magically appears. And so that'll all be in the comments. It's in the show notes. And so we will get that up here on the screen again. In fact, voila, there we go. Look at that. Magical. Amazing. So everybody, I want to remind you, clickable. You can click on that stuff.
Website. That's the wrong website there, but yeah.
Okay, well, we'll say the website and we'll put the right one up.
No, it's couragetocaregivers.org. So I've got to change that in LinkedIn. I'm going to go do that right now.
Okay, there you go. Do that. So we will couragetocaregivers.org. We'll get that all.
Updates on the fly.
Fixed. Yeah, there we go. In fact, we've already got it fixed. That's amazing. Awesome. Anyway, okay. So Joe, you're up next. Go for it.
Hi there. This is Joe Welch. My message is, I see you. I see you out there. You're busy. You're doing all the things. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Kristi, for all the things that you're doing. Thank you, Russ and Scott, like this is such an amazing time. We're entering the age of Aquarius, which is all led by love. And so these kind of conversations, we're right here at the front of the line, making sure that people are thinking in terms of love, and that love goes in all directions. And the easiest way to do that is by planning. I have a program called Will Fairy Challenge. It's at willfairychallenge.com, and that's a free 2-day, just half an hour, 45 minutes to get your mind into that space. I'm partnering with Heidi from, Achieve Bet, and we're making a game so that people can like start to think about it and answer the game. So we're still in development on that. But if you go to willfairychallenge.com, you'll be invited to our February dates. You'll get a copy of that new app, the game that we're doing to get people motivated. And then I do also have the Legacy Effect program, which is a 6-week program where every week we come together. And I hope you'll take me up on my invitation. I also want to talk to Christine. But Kristi, I hope you take me up on my invitation. I'd love to have you as a guest speaker, because the goal here is not just to get documents. That's literally a checklist. Everyone can do that and should do that. But the bigger picture is the love notes you leave behind, the caregiving plan that you're thinking about, and really just taking a minute. And I'm carving that minute out for you. So you can find me at, as you can see here, jowelch.com has all of my links, every single one of them. I tried to simplify it as much as possible because I'm Jo Welch. But in case you're like, no, I need to register right now for your next event, that's willfairychallenge.com.
That is so awesome. So awesome. And all of that information, again, will also be magically appearing both in the comments, the show notes, and on the screen. And wow, it has been an action-packed show in the comments. I can barely keep up with everybody today because, I think this is such a valuable topic, but it's also something that is people are just not wrapping their brain around. We are so culturally driven a certain direction that we need to pull ourselves back. I think that was something that COVID did great for me, as it gave me time and space to really reflect on my life and take a look at the things that I'm doing. And Scott, I'm going to give you a last word before they go. What do you want to say to these ladies before we wave goodbye?
This is one of the beautiful things about the experience. I was just thinking, we took steel and flint today and brought them together on the show, and we ignited something. So thank you, Jo. Thank you, Kristi. Great to have you back on the show again, and so much value. I just encourage everybody to connect with you guys and learn more.
Absolutely. I mean, that is so. Yeah, we definitely want to encourage everybody to connect with these amazing ladies. All their information is there in the comments and the show notes. And hang tight. We're going to send you to the green room, but we'll be right there. Hey, we're big now. Okay, there we go. Now we're smaller.
There we go.
Well, Scott, oh my goodness. I mean, I run out of things to say. That's so fabulous every week. So
we don't need to talk, like I said, you just, we bring together the flint and the steel and just sit back and let the warmth happen.
Yeah, no, it is so true. It's so true. And I just appreciate you so much. What a blessing for me every week, not only to get together with all these amazing friends, but also to be able to hang out with my good buddy, Scott. I love it. I'm looking forward to it because
we get to see each other in 3D coming up soon.
That's right. Isn't that later this week? That's right. It's on my calendar. I'm ready to go. So, all right. We got to go grab coffee. Woohoo.
Yeah.
All right. Well, listen, thank you, everybody. Again, we just want to remind you, we're here every Wednesday, 7 a.m. Pacific Standard Time on the Experience Live with Russ and Scott. All the information that you need today on Scott and I also is in the show notes. RussHedge.com for me, all my information. D. Scott Smith for him, all of his information. And we just want to encourage you to connect with Jo and Kristi. They're amazing people. Their contact information is also in the comments, in the show notes, all there for you today. And we will continue to promote them. I'm sure they'll be back on the show again soon because they're both so amazing. So with that, Scott, I think we're just going to sign off and say goodbye. Thanks everybody for being here. We'll see you next Wednesday on The Experience. And don't forget The Experience Backstage, 6:30 a.m. every Wednesday on Instagram Live only. So check us out there too. See you later. Bye, everybody.
Thanks for tuning in to The Experience Live with Russ and Scott. If you enjoyed today's show, please share it with others, post about it on social media, or subscribe on YouTube. See you next time.